Hey y'all, I am recording this and will be posting it almost immediately. I had a recorded podcast ready to roll, but this one is super important for you to hear from me. Today we're going to talk about struggle and hardship and frustration as a business owner. I'm going to get more emotionally raw than you've probably ever heard me, but I feel like you need to hear it. So let's get started. Welcome to the Social Takeoff Podcast, a podcast for travel professionals who are ready to use social media to help their business take off. I'm Kelli Hay-Smith, your host. I'm travel agent turned social media marketer who now works with multiple seven-figure travel agencies to help them infuse strategy and create a target social plan. I'll be sharing all of the tips and tricks of the trade, as well as content ideas and trends that you should be using to help grow your travel business. Let's get started. So if you keep up with me on Instagram, you know I may have been a little MIA. Maybe I've shared a little bit about what's going on in my life, but not a ton. And I'm going to be real vulnerable on the podcast today about why and about what's going on, but also what it makes you feel like as a business owner when these are the things that you're facing. So I am currently fighting a health battle. I've had autoimmune issues my entire life. To be completely honest, we have found out this week that a big portion of what I'm dealing with may not actually be autoimmune, but genetic. I'm not really ready to talk about full diagnosis yet, but one of the issues that I struggle with is an issue that causes chronic fatigue, like extreme fatigue, chronic widespread pain, chronic joint dislocations, just loads and loads of things like that. And I, over my life, have tried to learn to deal as best I can. I'm a mom, and as a mom, that means it's not about you anymore. It is about that kid. And so you can't just stop being a mom, right? And then you're a business owner. And I was really able to hide it well when I was a certain types of business owner. But now my job is to show up on social media, to have a lot of conversations with people on calls. And when things are good and when I feel good, I love doing it. But when I'm not feeling so great, it's not that I don't love showing up. Well, I don't feel like it, but also it's scary. I have this probably unrealistic fear that people won't trust me anymore if I tell them what's actually going on. Like, how could they possibly trust me to handle things or to trust that I'll show up? I feel like I put entirely too much on my team. It has just been a week of feeling like that. And as I was going out to make sure everything was ready to publish the podcast this week, I just did not feel in alignment with sharing all about creating a digital marketing strategy. And instead, I wanted to be as real and as raw and as relatable, I hope, about struggles. And you know what? You may not have a health struggle. Maybe it's a mental health struggle. I also have anxiety, and sometimes being sick makes that worse, and that causes me not to show up. But see, the thing is, social media over time, well, not over time. I posted this on Instagram yesterday, on Monday. And one of the things was get rid of your aesthetic feeds. Nobody cares. And it's unrelatable. When all we're showing is perfection, these perfectly color coordinated squares that fit together perfectly, it makes other people feel like, well, my life doesn't fit together perfectly. How can I relate to them? And I'm guilty of this too. Y'all, I have had such a hard time showing up on social media because I have, number one, had no makeup on, and I have been in pajamas with ice pack wrapped around my knee for the last week. Frustrated and angry and not feeling good, and tear streaks down my face. And I didn't want to show up like that because do I look weaker? That's how I feel. I feel weaker. I feel helpless. I feel like a burden. I feel like I'm letting people down. I feel like people will never trust me again if they know that I struggle with something, right? And I'm feeding into that because that's an irrational fear that I have. But the truth is, most people who connect with people on social media, they connect over the things that they relate to. And most people, I dare say all people, but at least most people struggle with something. Again, it may not be health related, but it could be a struggle with weight and diet and exercise. It could be a struggle financially. It could be a struggle with relationships. Sorry, dogs are loose. It could be a struggle with I'm literally recording this in my house. There's nobody here but the dogs, and I'm walking, limping, hobbling, and pacing because it's overwhelming to record this. So there's no soundproofing the dogs on this one. But everyone has struggles, no matter what they are. And when we present this face of perfection, this idea that our squares all fit together perfectly and they're color coordinated and our houses are never a mess and nothing is ever hard and it's always beautiful, and in the travel industry it's just always cruises and vacations, people aren't relating to us. Maybe we're struggling to connect, or we're frustrated about what to put out into the business world, but we don't want other people to know that because we don't want to look weak. So I am showing my weakness today in hopes that you will feel comfortable enough to share your weakness too. But here's the other thing. That's why I struggle to show up. But the anxiety it gives me to not show up makes me feel like I'm going to be forgotten, or nobody's going to look to me for answers anymore if I've needed a week or two downtime. Y'all, that's in your head too, and that's in my head. Remembering that your business, you're doing this to make your life and your quality of life better. And so when you need a break, taking a break is essential, no matter what that's for. We're getting ready to go into back to school season. My kids go back for half a day next Friday, in a week. My kids go back for half a day. Maybe you need downtime to show up for them, to get things ready for them. Maybe you need downtime once they go back to kind of gather yourself and recharge. I don't know what it is. And maybe you are in a season where you are like guns blazing. You are ready to go. You're in a great place. And that is awesome. But when you're not, when you hit a season that it's hard, I want you to take a deep breath and give yourself permission to take care of you. Give yourself permission to recharge and rest and to turn inward for a little bit of time. But also to remember that showing up as your authentic self, struggles and hardships and all, is relatable. Because I can promise you right now, I can totally relate to the struggles and the frustrations. I want you to remember that when you own a business, whether it's your primary job or it is I'm not going to call it a side hustle, but it is your part-time or even your more full-time, but not your primary or your only job. When you own a business, it feels like everything is on your shoulders. I own a business and I have clients that depend on me and a team that depends on me. You have clients and you may have a team too. And it feels like you are letting everyone down. I know. I am there right now. But what I really want to say, what I really want you to hear from someone, if you've never heard this or you haven't heard this today, I want you to create people around you who are going to support you, who are going to tell you, and who you can tell, I feel like I'm letting you down. I feel like I'm being a burden. And they will say, no, you're not. We've got you. I have that team, but I'm always looking for more in my group. So let me promise you this today. If you don't have those people currently in your life who will tell you the hard truths and tell you, I have a team member tell me today, I'm going to charge you $5 every time you say I'm sorry. If you don't have people who will tell you that they've got your back, that will encourage you to take care of you, who will let you know how awesome you are regardless of the hardships or struggles or even failures that it feels right now. Get in my DMs because you can become in my circle. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You have to have a support system. It can be other entrepreneurs, it can be friends, it can be family, it can be other travel agents. But if you don't have that crew, you can be part of my crew. After these last 2 weeks, we had an issue with the Reels crash course. It's ready to go, but the sound won't work, and I've got to redo the sound over top of it, and I have been unable to stand long enough to do it. So I feel like I'm letting, there's the dog's again. I feel like I'm letting everybody down. It's going to be fixed soon. Started therapy today. So it'll be there. I get it. I get feeling like you're failing. Feeling like you're letting people down. If you need someone who can understand and tell you that you are doing the best you can with what you have right now, you can be my people. Come into my DMs and tell me, I need a crew. I'll start a group message that can support each other if that's what we need to do. But I just want you to know that someone will have your back. This was just really important for me to share because over the last couple weeks, I have been really struggling and know I'm struggling and want to talk about it and then be afraid to talk about it. And I went back and forth and I thought, you know what, I'm going to post this podcast because sometimes these things are every bit as important as the practical tips. So when you tune in next week, you'll hear the podcast I recorded about creating a full digital marketing strategy that social media is a part of. And that's important too. But I hope that you were able to get something out of this today too. You guys, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Social Takeoff Podcast. Make sure to leave us a review below and come find me on Instagram at Kelli Hay Smith and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Make sure to check back every Friday for a bonus episode, 5 Things Friday, and every Tuesday for a brand new episode. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Social Takeoff Podcast. Make sure to leave us a review below and come find me on Instagram at Kelli Hay Smith and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Make sure to check back every Friday.